spawners back base. They're not going to be in the fridge. They're not going to have an immediate line of sight. And then with Sica moving in to take down Royal 2, is this the opening for them to get another overshield?
Overshield topping as well, but beautiful shots from Sica. Can he do it again?
My God.
Another perfect killing spree from him.
Split spawn. 2 towards blue. Persistent's going to fight over towards golden edge. Sica with the use of the thruster pack gets the kill.
No matter where you're from, whether it's from Europe or NA, we're all human beings. That's what people used to say. Like, those guys, even in NA, are the best players in the world. They have like 5 fingers.
He can't be killed, and now
Why wouldn't I be able to shit on them if they have the same hands as me?
Now with the push-up, but the Bulldog is blocking out and then Royal 2.
You can be as good as you want. Like, experience is something that is very valuable. It's not something you can learn from your home. It's something you have to live the moment in order to, you know, survive the situation. Like when you go in those game 5s online with the crowd and stuff screaming at you, it's not something that you can realize what it feels like before you actually go in NA and play.
Optic, go home! Optic, go home!
Welcome, Sica. How you doing, man? How have you been? Welcome to Clutch Academy's Breakthrough Podcast with pros, AM, semi-pros. How are you doing? How you feeling? How's France? How's it going, brother?
Yo, I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good as well. Thanks for the invitation, Evan.
Appreciate it.
Well, I've been doing great. A bit bored ever since I came back from Worlds.
Fair enough.
Because obviously off-season and stuff, nothing much to do apart of playing matchmaking.
Right.
Obviously it's a topic I will approach later on, matchmaking in Europe, which is something quite special in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it allows me like this off-season to actually spend time in France, share with my friends and stuff. France is a lovely place to live. Obviously I'm not objective because obviously I've been here forever. So compared to the US, I frankly prefer France. I know it's a topic we'll approach as well later on to talk about the difference between France and the US. But yeah, life in France is really cool. It's really cool. It's a country I like always wants to live in, to be fair.
Okay, cool, man. Cool. So France, US, which one's your favorite off the top of your head?
Obviously France. Every day of the week. It's not only a cultural thing. Like there's a lot of reasons why I just grew here. Like there's a lot of city I like. I have all my memories here. The food as well is incredible in France. Obviously, we're known for our gastronomy and stuff.
Was there anything in specific that when you went to Seattle or any of the places you've been to the US that you enjoyed, like say eating? What's your favorite food? Is there anything specific?
Yeah, actually, I like Texas a lot. We've been in Texas like so many times. Yeah, like
Love it.
to be fair, last year we had several boot camps in Texas, maybe 2 boot camps. We had like in total, I think we had like 4 or 5 lands in Texas, probably 4, which is a lot. We've been in Fort Worth, Arlington, Dallas, so several different cities. And I think the thing I like the most about Texas is probably like the food, like the barbecues and stuff. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, man.
You know, like we're trying in France, in Paris, there are more and more like barbecue restaurants trying to bring over that culture and over the brisket and stuff. And I really enjoy them a lot. I've been a few times in American barbecues, and it's always like a great experience.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's something I really like whenever I go to Texas.
Yeah, the barbecue is probably the best here in Texas, by far. It's one of the main things we have. Obviously, we have Mexican food as well. But Texas barbecue is at the top of the list. A lot of people will fight over which barbecue is the best. But how about in France? Is there anything, if anybody flew to France today, that you would say, hey man, you should probably try this out?
It's going to be such a French thing to say, but the bœuf bourguignon, obviously fondue bourguignon, like everything that have bourguignon inside of it. You know, like in France, we love to cook with wine and stuff in the food. It's a lot of food that actually takes a lot of time. Like for instance, the bœuf bourguignon, it's a recipe that actually takes like maybe 12 hours to make in total, because you have to let the food marinate and stuff for a while.
Got it. Okay. So how did you say that one more time?
Bœuf bourguignon.
Okay.
Bœuf bourguignon. Bœuf is beef. So it's a B-O-E-U-F space B-O-U-R-G-I-G-N-O-N.
That's for everybody at home, and we'll put that in for everybody. So when he says it, they'll know how to spell it. They fly to France, they'll see you, and then they'll be like, "Thank you, Sica, for this recommendation." Was there any specific city that you had a great time at, or that was a great first impression for you?
Probably Salt Lake City. I mean, I really like the mountains and stuff. I feel like it's always like a cool view. Like when you have like a good view on top of the hotel and you're looking through the window and you see mountains and stuff all over the place. I really like it. To be fair, it's a really beautiful city.
Right.
Outside of that, Kansas City was fine as well. I felt like Kansas City was a good city.
Okay.
We've been in Orlando, and I liked Orlando. The problem is with Orlando is like the weather. It was very humid, very hot as well. A lot of mosquitoes.
Yeah.
So it was a nightmare for me because I'm allergic to mosquitoes. So I
Oh
didn't have a
no.
good time.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. I'm so sorry to hear that.
And we had to boot camp in Orlando when there was a disaster as well. I don't know how to pronounce it, but there was a hurricane. And we had to boot camp, and so we had to lock ourselves. It was very weird for us because it doesn't really usually happen in Europe.
Right.
And so I was not used to it. At some point I thought I was gonna die here, because like the wind outside was actually insane. So people outside the street, literally, I remember everyone was running everywhere trying to, go shopping, get some food and hide into their house and stuff. And some people were like, yeah, hide in the bathroom, don't move. And I was like, damn. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad in the end because it was like lower than expected. It was not as strong as expected in terms of like provision, but it was still a scary experience. I remember my parents in France were very scared for me. But yeah, outside of that, so Orlando is not a really good memory. But yeah, probably Salt Lake City and Kansas City.
So if you were to say what were the top, I guess now that this comes into it, what were the top maybe 3 or 4 places that you would want the next like major to be in?
If I could choose anywhere, even outside of the US, obviously it's gonna be biased, but I'm gonna say Paris.
Okay.
For good reasons. I mean, for me, it would be an occasion to have like the whole French community coming over. We had like actually a huge turn up for HCS London.
Okay.
Obviously, the viewership is lower because with the time zone shit and stuff, like it was really early in the US for people to watch. But outside of that, like the turn up itself, I think there was 1.5k people. And I'm pretty sure they said that it was the most people at an HCS event for the year. Like I've never seen like that many people in an event, to be fair, for a while. So it was actually impressive, and the fact that we could have got like a bigger arena as well, because at first they didn't think that we would be able to fill like the LAN and have enough people buy tickets and stuff, and they ended up like selling the tickets in 24 hours every single time.
Yeah.
So like if only we knew, we would have had like a bigger place and even more people, maybe 2,000 people or stuff. So like there's actually a big like turn up in Europe for those lands. Something I would like is probably Las Vegas. I've never been in Las Vegas. I know there've been an H5 event back then in Vegas, and apparently it was funny. I'm also a huge gambler, so
oh God.
I mean, I used to be a huge gambler, so I'm probably gonna risk my life savings on red if we ever go in Vegas. But yeah, no, I think it would be a funny experience. Like, I really want to visit like Las Vegas, maybe like Los Angeles, cities like that we have never been into. But if I had to guess, I would say that we're gonna have Texas again next year. Sure. It's usually like the same location because I think it's cheaper for them to organize in those locations rather than like a new location.
Las Vegas is fun. I know a lot of people that go. I haven't been there. So, I mean, if you do go and we do have a LAN there, I have 2 things for you. You're either going to win on Championship Sunday because you won on red, or you're going to be depressed. No, I'm just kidding. And you'll be life savings gone.
I guess it's fine because most of the time this year so far I've been depressed whenever I came back home, so it wouldn't be a big change.
Oh God.
No, I mean like it's just like the competition life, like you have expectation, and when you don't reach those expectations, obviously you're going back depressed, especially for us because it's a long travel, so you have a lot of time to self-reflect whenever you wait at the airport when the flight is 10 hours long, so you're thinking back at the performance, and then you know that you have 2 months before the next event. So usually like there's kind of the post-event depression that happens every time until you find motivation again. But it's part of what we do anyway, so we're used to it. There's always a reason why you should be depressed. Sometimes it's because you play slower than what you expected to. Sometimes it's because like the gap was so close between you and the team that beats you. For instance, at London, when we got reverse swept by Space Station for top 4, like we dominated the series and then got reverse swept in a very close series. So, you're always questioning yourself what could have happened if you actually go on and win this series, place top 4, and then maybe you can have a good matchup with the crowd behind you on Championship Sunday.
Right.
You can always think about what could happen, you know what I mean? So it's very depressing because like to motivate yourself, especially when you're in Europe, when you don't have a lot of things to do, you have to kind of gaslight yourself and motivate yourself, thinking about like all the possible scenarios, thinking about you winning the championship and stuff, and that keeps you going on, to actually play the game every day. Because if I had like no motivation and no incentives to grind the game, I wouldn't do it. So every single day I have to wake up and remember why I'm doing this. I have to motivate myself. It's actually very hard as well on a game that obviously is on the decline, objectively speaking, in terms of population, and servers not as much players. In Europe, we have to use a VPN 24/7 in order to find games. So you have to play on 100 ping every single game, which is like not the best experience. I think everyone would agree on that. So yeah, sometimes you're like, why am I doing that? And you have to think of the bigger picture. You have to think of the event. You have to think of your dream, thinking of winning and stuff. For me, I just think back of Arlington, for instance, when I talk about the top 3 in Arlington, it is still like my best moment in Halo. And I really want to go back, to those moments and feel what it feels like once again, to break into the top 3, dreaming of winning an event and stuff.
Let's watch that. You brought it up. If you're cool to watch that with me, I think you have it on your screen too. This is game 4. You're up 2-1.
Where's Lethal? Lethal scoreboard. That's an overshield for Quadrant. That's an overshield for Quadrant with 4 dead for Sentinels. This is unbelievable here. 1 minute left. 25% to go before it's tied. And the Quadrant chant starts in the building.
You could be anywhere in France right now with the chant that is starting here in Arlington. Quadrant inside of the hill. Spartan taken down. Sica and Tchik get the kills. And we're tied up. Sica is doing it all. Quadrant from the depths, from deep, make history once again.
That's what's so funny.
Man, I can't imagine how that was.
That was insane because like nobody expected us to be top Tchik and place top 4, and then you go on Championship Sunday and break top 3 as well, like going through records and records. Like before this event, people have to remember that top 6 was like the best achievement ever for Europeans, and we broke it like twice, not only once but twice. So that's actually an insane thing to do. And I was always remember like the room screaming for us, saying "Let's go Quadrant" and stuff. It's actually the first time people have been cheering for us as well. Because every time, obviously in the US, we are Europeans, so most of the time when I'm playing, like people are against us. They're screaming USA, USF. I mean, it's part of the, it's part of the deal. Like, I'm not taking it badly. Like, it makes sense, But it actually felt special for once to have like the crowd behind us, and this is why it's still my best memory for so far on this game.
So for you though, can you share like your journey in the EU scene, the Halo scene there, and how is that different? How did you start out? What were some key moments that helped you take it to the next level?
To be fair, I don't know for the rest of the players, but for me it's happened pretty randomly. I've never ever dreamed of becoming a pro player or whatever. I just played because I liked to shit on people in a way. I was kind of a toxic kid when I was younger, and I was just messaging the top pro players in France, like telling them 1v1 me, you're not good and stuff. I was just a toxic kid when I was younger.
Fair enough.
And at some point, I just had my opportunity. People like told me, yeah, you should try to do tournaments and stuff. And as the time passed, I got better and better, and got into a better team as the time passed, obviously. And my first memories is like qualifying into the European Pro League. I think it was in 2016. But back then it was, I was still like 15 years old. I was about to be 16, so I was like the youngest guy in Europe to qualify. And then afterwards, I think the biggest factor for me was 2018. There was an event in H5, it was New Orleans. So there was a major and there was a qualification in Europe. And we basically made a team last moment. So back then it was me, Shady, Solar, and a guy called Shabedagger as well. That team was pretty random, but we somehow beat every team in Europe and qualified. Wow. Yeah, we qualified for that major.
That's crazy.
But the problem being is that I didn't have my passport back then because I didn't even know that there was a qualification spot on the line. It tells you a lot. I was not even aware that I would qualify for major, let alone winning the tournaments. So what happened is that I didn't have my passport. I couldn't get it in time.
Oh my god.
So I had to like dodge the LAN. They took someone else instead of me. and it was like the last opportunity for Europeans to actually do an H5 LAN.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it felt very bad for me because it was a dream kind of, to actually go to the US with gaming and stuff. So I always told myself from 2018 that I had to qualify no matter what in the future.
Right.
Then what happened is one of the saddest time in Halo history, which is like, the long period between the end of H5, which is 2018, and Halo Infinite. So it was filled with like online tournaments, but nothing official, no events and stuff. So between this time, I was just doing the online cups, and we were dominating in Europe with like Legend, Shady, and SLG. Then with Jimbo, we are called the Cartel. I was doing my studies at the same time. Basically, it didn't take a lot of time, to do those tournaments. We didn't have to practice or anything. So what I did was like just to go further into my law studies. I was able to finish my license, which is like 3 years basically, because Halo Infinite got delayed. I don't know if you remember, obviously, but Halo Infinite was supposed to release in 2020, I think, and release in 2021 in the end.
Right.
So what happened is back there, I took a gamble. It's either like I continue my law studies and I did what was called a master in France, which is like 4th and 5th year of your studies, or I stopped at like 3 years and I tried to go professional in Halo.
Okay.
And what I did was obviously to take the gamble and try to go professional in Halo, thinking we are good enough since we were winning like every cups on H5. So I thought, we heard as well of the teams coming in Europe like Navi, G2, like every big organization such as Fnatic and stuff. So I was pretty confident about the fact that we would get an organization for Infinite. And yeah, basically that's how it happened. I was like, yeah, fuck it. If I'm not taking this risk now, I would always regret it. So we ended up going to Ascend. And it was like the first time I ever got a salary from playing Halo and stuff, or ever got a salary at all, to be fair. So yeah, it was amazing, and it's not something I regret. I think it's something you have to do once in your life, because if you don't take risks, sometimes you'll just filled with regrets when you grow up. So whether it does not work out in the end or not, I think I'm pretty happy of the road so far. So
I appreciate the way you put that together. I mean, from start to finish, and starting with Ascend and working your way to Quadrant, and seeing where we're at now is a little difficult, but at the same time, you lived out a life that nobody else would have ever lived in their life, or that they've only dream of living, right? So
the most surprising thing was the switch for my friends, in school and stuff. Back then, they used to call me a nerd, basically, because I spent a lot of time on Halo and stuff. And Halo, if you don't know it, but Halo in France is not popular. Mainly because it was Call of Duty at the time. I was like one of the only weirdo who played Halo, just because I enjoyed the lore and stuff. I don't know, I was always a fan of it ever since I was 10 years old, but most of my friends didn't play it. And especially now, people play League of Legends and stuff, but Halo is not really popular. So people back then were like, why are you playing this game and stuff? And at some point when I made it and became pro, like all of my friends were like, whoa, that's insane, because you're going to the US for free every single time, you're getting paid for it. Like nobody would have expected Halo to be such an help for me in my life, and that it would allow me to do what I love. So yeah, it was quite a surprise, and it's quite a revenge as well, to all of the people that adopted me back then and called the Halo a shit game. Yeah, no, I'm quite happy of what I did so far in my life. I never regret playing Halo.
That's a whole life story within the course of a couple of years. I mean, how old are you right now? I didn't ask you earlier.
24. I've just hit 24 in September.
Oh, well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And then Halo 5, when did you start playing that, roughly speaking?
Well, pretty much a day before the release or the day after the release. I don't remember exactly. I remember I downloaded the game, and at midnight it was free. You could play it at midnight in France. And my first game, I played it with my current coach, which was Kronos, and we matched Roy and Lunchbox at the time, playing for Evil Genius.
Okay.
And I had no fucking clue that they were pros, because back then I didn't know shit at the start of H5. So my first game was a bad experience because we got shit on, My first game ever on H5 playing pros, with the connection and stuff. So we got shit on, so it was a really bad experience. But yeah, as I said, I never intended to go pro. I think it happened naturally, just because I'm the kind of person who likes to be better than other people in everything I do, and it just happened randomly. I know a lot of people really try to be professional, but I don't believe that's something you can force, in a way.
Right.
I think it happens randomly to some people that deserve it because they're putting efforts in it, but I'm not convinced that you have to force yourself to become a pro player in order to be one.
what's the difference between playstyles, not just in Halo 5, but in Halo in general? Like, there's different playstyles, the competition's different, internet connection's obviously different, and how did that affect the experience, and what's the differences between the two, the US and the EU?
First of all, no matter where you're from, whether it's from Europe or NA, we are all human beings. That's what people used to say. Like, those guys, even in NA, they're the best players in the world. They have like 5 fingers. They have and, like everything. Like, why wouldn't I be able to shit on them if they have the same hands as me?
Fair enough. Yeah.
So that's what I think. But no, the biggest difference, to be fair, is that I think NA is way better. I mean, it used to be way better because as time passed, obviously, like with Europe getting better and stuff, we got better at this as well. But the teamwork, the strategies and stuff were way deeper. Also, the experience, like, you can be as good as you want. Like, experience is something that is very valuable. It's not something you can learn from your home. It's something you have to live the moment in order to, survive the situation. Like when you go in those game 5s online with the crowd and stuff screaming at you, it's not something that you can, you can't realize what it feels like before you actually go in NA and play. And so whenever you play NA, you realize that most of the good teams, they don't give you those 1v1s. They just play better as a team. And no matter how good you are individually, you're gonna get 2v1 and it doesn't change anything. So that was the biggest difference back then. And no, I don't think there's a big gap. Like whenever the top teams, wherever it's in Europe and in NA, playing against each other, I feel like it's always like the small difference, like the small decision that actually makes the difference. I still think experience is a big factor. But yeah, so far I don't think there's a big difference. The main issue probably is the lack of practice. Obviously, where there's like only 2 or 3 teams in Europe that go in NA every event, and there have always been a big gap between the top 2 and the top 3 in Europe. But playing the same team over and over is kind of boring at first because you end up like they end up knowing us perfectly. Same for us, so they just counter start after counter start. They know our strats, we know theirs, so it becomes kind of stupid. In NA, you have the luxury to actually play different teams every single time. So they can't really expect what you're gonna do. You can try to improve, do new things and stuff. And you can play on a more consistently basis as well. Like on a daily basis, you can scrim. Like for us, it's only 2 scrims a week at most. Sometimes people cancel as well. So there are weeks where you don't have a single scrim.
Oh, God, terrible.
Yeah, it's happened a lot. For instance, between Salt Lake City, which was the last event this year, and Worlds, we had like 4 scrims in a month. So 4 scrims in a month against top 3 teams in Europe and stuff. We didn't even play the top 2 team as well. Yeah, I think we are kind of at a huge disadvantage, to say the least. Your only practice being that when you have no scrim, all you can do is play matchmaking. And everyone knows that matchmaking is not the best place to practice, especially as a team, because you can't even play as a team anyway.
But there's one more person that we actually have here today. That he's a legend amongst everyone. All right, let's see. Warlord, are you here?
I am here. Hello.
What's up?
What's up, Sica? How you doing?
Doing good. What about you, bro?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I just thought I'd just like to ask some questions that a lot of people would like to know and stuff like that. You could give your unique perspective. I mean, I guess the first question I'd like to ask would just be, obviously you've always been a very good Halo 5 player, but I think a lot of in the European scene, a lot of players would say you definitely like took another leap at the end, right? When you was on Ascend or Cartel as it was known back then, with like Shady, Solar, and Legend and stuff like that. Do you think the reason you took such a leap was just because you finally had a team that was like of like similar skill, or do you think there was like a moment where you kind of had a bit of a breakthrough and improved? Do you know what I mean? Because for me, it was like, I remember I didn't play for a couple months and I came back and I was like, oh my God, this guy is insane now. You know what I mean? So.
No, I know what you mean. I think it's a mix of both, but mostly I remember that's the time where I started to use my brain. As I said before, I've never intended to be professional, so I didn't really overthink what happened in my games or watch VOD or whatever. And at some point, I just realized I had to think a bit deeper about the game. And when I was watching pros, I was questioning myself about why they're doing this. I just kind of understood like right away how you should think about the game. I was just like a mindless ape on the map before. I can't remember exactly my thought process back then, but I remember that I was not a very smart player, to be fair.
I think it's safe to say, you at one point you was an up and comer, but now a lot of up and comers look up to you, right? So talking a little bit about the current landscape, of EU Halo, definitely have stuff like M&K making a huge name for itself and stuff like that. Do you think there's any like up and coming names in EU Halo?
I think even though he's on the top 3 team at the moment in Europe and he always had been kind of Bastos, I think Bastos had some good potential. The thing is that, yeah, obviously he just needs experience and like more of a brain at times, but I think individually he definitely has the potential to reach like the level of the top 2 teams in Europe, at least individually. So if he can like work on the rest, it will be very impressive, I think.
I mean, I guess the name that pops out, at least to a lot of American players, is like Wootem and stuff like that. Obviously he's on the top team.
Yeah, but I don't think he's up and coming anymore. So that's why I didn't talk about him, because he kind of proved himself already since he plays top 6 and stuff. So I don't think he's like
that's true.
What we can consider an up and coming player. Maybe I7 actually.
Yeah, that's another great shout.
The thing with I7 is that obviously there are people. I'm not going to talk about the rumors and stuff. People have been suggesting that he could be cheating. I'm not gonna go deep into it. I will give him like the benefit of the doubt, but if he's not cheating, instead, he's actually like a very capable player. I think he has a lot of potential. The problem with like those kinds of player, I think he's just focused like on his stats and stuff too much, and he kind of like fucked the whole spawns on the map, by. You know what I mean? Like he's just consistently flanking instead of like playing for what's important. So he's just making the game harder for you. He can end up like plus 50. It doesn't matter. The game is going to be as close as it gets because his kills are pointless. He kills someone at the end of the map, then he blocks the spawn, and then the guy he just killed is going to spawn closer to you, so it doesn't change shit. So I have kind of an issue with people like that, because they can be as good as they want individually. If you block every spawn and make the game harder for your teammates, you're just pointless. I would rather have like someone weaker individually who doesn't fuck up the spawn and the map for your teammates, rather than someone who is like renegade but he's just fucking everything on the map. So
yeah, I was just going to say, I think that leads me really nicely into another question, right? What traits do you really value in a teammate? Because you've teamed with a lot of different type of players, right? Like really aggressive players, quite passive players, players with amazing communication, maybe some players that don't call out as much as others, right? So what kind of traits do you really value now that you've kind of gained more experience,
What I respect the most, I think, out of everything is objective efficiency. I would say it's like the ability of like a player to play objective instantly when there's a timing for it. And that actually makes a lot of difference, because if you overthink and you have to scream at your teammates saying go for the ball, go for the ball, go for the ball, you're actually wasting precious seconds, and at the highest level you're gonna get punished for that. What I value is like people that are reactive, like especially when you, for instance, when I have the ball, someone is one shot next to me, and then he understands straight away that he has to pick up the ball, so we make a relay, and then we make sure that someone with the less shield is consistently playing for the ball, so we have like a good efficiency when it comes to timing and stuff. I also like when people like know how to play their lives as well for weapons. In matchmaking, I consistently see people that are just flying on the map with snipers, dying, then give the other sniper to the enemy team, and I just wish they would do that on LAN against like Lucid in Renegade, for instance. Because trust me, I've been in a situation when you have like pro teams like that, like Opti, FaZe, or whatever, and they have 2 snipers and you don't get out of it. Like most of the time you get punished very, very hard. And that's why instead of like learning how to react when they have 2 snipers, you should rather learn how to not give them 2 snipers.
Another question which, kind of relates to what you've just said, I suppose, which is, how do you feel the meta of the game has changed a lot, right? Because I remember one of my favorite matchups was always you guys. I think it was when you guys were on Ascend and you would play E United, because I always thought it was quite an interesting styles clash, right? Because I've played E United and you guys, and it felt like you guys kind of redefined the meta on strongholds, especially like United were always very much like, let's hold our 2-cap, let's play it safe, on like a street strongholds. But then you guys, you were just running over teams in strongholds, just putting them in trip cap blenders, and they couldn't do anything. Was that a conscious effort from the team to really put the pressure on, or was it just something that kind of happened naturally, I suppose?
Yeah, I think it just happened naturally. I think we're very good at strongholds in H5, and if you remember, H5 in strongholds, it was not played slowly, it was on a very aggressive game type as well. And I think people like took a lot of time, and some people are still like taking a lot of time to understand how stronghold should be played. For instance, I'm not going to talk about Ascent, but Quadrant, when we went for, I don't know the record, obviously, but we went like for 20 wins in a row or some shit like that, in Strongholds on LAN. And we are doing our setup on Recharge, obviously, which is not a secret to anyone when we are having the triple cap, making the spawn long goal and stuff. And like even teams like Opti couldn't get out of it,
Yeah.
And I felt like we always had the right idea about how we should play Strongholds, but people never wanted to adapt. I don't know why. Like people in NA, like even the best teams, they didn't want to play it like that. They had their setup, they stopped moving. They never went for our triple cap setups, and that's why we kept on winning. And I've never understood why they didn't try to play more aggressive. So I think now that people like Legend are going in NA, he's kind of like telling his teammates, "Yo guys, this is how we should play Strongholds." You know what I mean? Like not your way, but my way. And I can tell that those teams have adapted and are not playing the same way as before. I think there was just like, for once, I think it's probably the only time in history where Europe had like the right idea in terms of meta and the way the game should be played. Well, obviously they were ahead of us in terms of heal, like ball and stuff, but in terms of Stronghold, I think from the start we knew that we should play it like very aggressively, like H5.
Well, last question I have personally is, I think some people will look at, you as a Halo player and they'll be like, oh, this player's just talented. And talent is definitely a huge part of, obviously becoming a pro. But could you just expand on like, all the hard work that, that you've put in that's like, got you to this point, right? Especially like, what does your daily schedule look like, if like what the World Championships is in like 2 to 3 weeks, right? Like how much hard work are you putting in to like really get where you are, I suppose.
When it comes to schedule, like it's not as precise as people could think. Like obviously I'm not an NBA player or whatever. Like I don't have like precise timelines, like at 2 p.m. I'm gonna do bots or whatever. I just have a rough idea what I want to do every single day. So most of the day I'm gonna shoot bots for a few hours. I'm gonna play matchmaking as much as I can, but without going, I don't want to exhaust myself and play pointless games. Like you don't have to force yourself because those games are pointless. If you play when you don't want to play, you're just gonna ruin yourself. You're gonna take bad habits and stuff. So I play as much as I can when I have the energy. And when I don't have it anymore, I just watch streams and try to take as much away as I can from other pros players. Yeah, I think it's something important as well. Like you shouldn't copy a single player. I think every player has like their weakness and their strong points, and you just try to take away like the good aspect from every pro players. Like some people are better at playing their lives, some people are better at playing objective, for instance. Some people are better at like playing with the pro weapons, and you just try to take away small things from every pros and try to incorporate it to your own gameplay.
I really liked there how you mentioned, you do a lot. It's like a lot of different stuff, like some people just play matchmaking, like some people just get on for scrims, but one thing I think people that definitely goes very underrated is you say you watch a variety of different pros, like learn a little bit from everyone. I think it's safe to say in Europe there's a little bit of a trend where everyone wants to be the next legend, right? Like everybody's copying his sensitivity and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But I really like how you said like, you've got to like find what works for you.
That makes me think of something. There was a big sickness that actually touched a lot of people on H5. It was called Shodzi. Yeah. So people got really badly injured and sick because, no, I'm joking, but the fact is that Shodzi, basically, he was performing very well. He was like jumping everywhere on the map, he was doing some crazy moves and stuff. And what happened is that he kind of shifted the meta, and a lot of people wanted to look like him, even though they didn't have like 1% of his talent or whatever, and they tried to force themselves being Shodzi. And you ended up with like a lot of people that did fuck knows on the map, trying to do every jump at once instead of like playing the game, And so like obviously it's a good thing that Legend is here as an inspiration, but I don't want people to overthink trying to be him because it's not possible. You can't be like him. You can copy certain aspects, you can work on certain things that he does, but like you should never try to be Legend or be anyone else. So the best advice I can give is like don't try to copy people. Like taking their settings is fine if you want. Like you can roughly say, yeah, I want to be an aggressive player, which is fine, but you can't do everything like you do. And that's a really important point. It's not that I want to copy them, but it's always good as well to be aware of like the playstyle of the people you play against. So like on LAN, I know what to expect as well from certain players. I know which players are more likely to child me back. I know which players are not likely to child me back to push me or whatever. like there are tendencies, like people kind of not always play the same way, but you can expect certain things from certain people.
That makes sense. Well, that's all the questions I had. It was great to catch up with you, Sica. I think it's safe to say you're definitely a big inspiration for a lot of the younger players that are coming through in Infinite right now. So keep up all the great work, and yeah, I'll hand it back over to you, Clutch, and you can finish off the interview.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate you.
All right, have a good one.
Oh yeah, that was Warlord SG, one of our favorite guys, Stuart Graham from the EU. So thank you for asking the questions, Stu. We're gonna get back onto the topic, but before we do, I have one quick question I could ask before we get into the main interview. EJ says, I would be curious, what does he think is to happen for what needs to happen for an EU team to be world champs or take a major?
To be fair, it's not impossible, but it's almost impossible. But I do believe in that 1%. That's why I'm still playing, because I want to win an event. But objectively speaking, with the lack of practice we currently have, it's kind of hard to catch up sometimes to the best teams.
Right.
I think what it takes is just for everyone in the team to turn up at the right time, because LAN is LAN. Sometimes there are upsets. And I believe from the bottom of my heart that if everyone is playing, with the same idea and stuff, and everyone is like warm and like shooting his gun, I think anything is possible. But it will take like all 4 players to get their absolute prime. And there's not much we can do, to be fair, except like practicing every single day like we do. Hopefully, as the time passes, with experience and stuff, we are gonna get better on LAN as well. And hopefully as well, maybe, just maybe, there's a team that hasn't been made. Obviously, I will have a team next season. I'm not gonna spill the beans, but I don't know yet how the team is gonna look like. I know what the team looks like on paper, but we have not played together, so obviously I can't predict exactly how it's gonna go. But I can always pray to be surprised, and maybe we're gonna have that special chemistry that's gonna bring us to a higher level. My dream and hopes are to do something better than what the previous Quadrant roster did back then. So
you've been on Quadrant a couple of years, so overall, what was that? How did that impact you being on the team for Quadrant?
I think before Quadrant, I had no proper work ethic. I was not really. I didn't really know what to do to get better, and I didn't have much knowledge about the game itself, about like the deeper mechanics, the deeper spawns and stuff, the deepest strategies, like the rotates and stuff. And we did like a lot of work alongside with SLG as well. SLG has always been like a guy really into strategies and stuff, studying the game. And that's what he mostly gave to like me and Legend, for instance, like the ability to like think more deeper about the game, like think about the bigger picture every single time, think about the impact of your moves on the spawns, on the next spawners, what they are going to do and stuff. That's why I was talking about use the skills before when someone is fucking up the spawns on the map.
Right.
Like that's something back then I wouldn't really think a lot about, and as the time passed, you realize that your placement is more valuable than a kill.
Right.
And I don't know. I think it just Quadrant mainly brought me that ethic and that ability to understand the game better than anything compared to my previous years.
People are afraid of being aggressive, is the term you use, especially on recharge strongholds. What was the biggest thing about y'all's variation of strongholds versus the North American version of strongholds? And is that still around? Could you kind of spill the beans, so to speak, on the strategy, or at least what y'all focus on in y'all strategy?
Well, to be fair for us, we had a setup in mind. So basically the setup is quite hard to know, and we don't even have the opponent team anymore, so I can speak of it. But we have a guy back silo on recharge who is going into the blue pipes. Like he's back silo but watching blue pipes, which is important. So like he can watch the bottom mid flanks and everything. Because if he goes silo and just watches Eli and stuff, he can't really shoot the guys that are going bottom mid. And on top of that, he's taking damages from the guy that can jump Eli or go C plat. You don't want the back silo guy to take damages. So you have a guy blue pipes. You have a guy top tower who is basically watching attic. Glass or whatever you call it, the long goal push, and he's also a guy who is able to react in case they push C, can go bottom tower and just help the backside guy.
Right.
You have a guy top A blocking the spawns and watching the long goal cross, so this guy doesn't move. And the last guy is the guy Batledge. He's blocking pipes and top gold, and he's watching the C plat cross. So basically, when you do that, they're all trapped in long hole, and they have two choices, which is either like they push through C or they push through long to gold. Yeah. And basically, they push through C, they're gonna get shot by the guy Batledge. Then you have the guy backside who can play for the damages. Right. Then if they push like 2 or 3 people, like the guy tower can just help the guy backside. And what happens is that they keep on suiciding and they keep on spawning longer.
Right. Okay.
So that's pretty much the point. Obviously, sometimes they can try like some weird things, but most of the time they're just wasting time. And if it doesn't work, since it's a triple cap, they have lost 200 points already. So a few teams try to do it. Obviously. SSG, for instance, because Legend went with SSG. But we didn't try to force the setup. It's just a matter of like sometimes there was 3 dead or 4 dead, and instantly we're like, oh, we can do the setup, and like everyone started to run, get in position. Right. Yeah, I'm going Batledge, you go here, blah blah blah, and it just happened naturally. Even like Americans, sometimes I see them like playing triple caps and stuff, but I don't think they played it the proper way. They played it like in a way like we did at the start of the game, like no typical strategies about where they should make them spawn. Right. They're just running at the spawners after like over and over, which is good. Like sometimes it can work, I'm not saying, but at any given time, the fight can, go in the other way around. You can get grenaded, you can die, and then the setup is broken.
Got it.
The way we did it, there was no way we would die of the spawners, and they were in a shit position in long haul rather than like giving them good spawn in A or whatever. So that's why I don't really like this way of playing the stronghold on recharge. It works on other maps, I'm not saying that, but on recharge, I'm yet to see like people doing the setup properly. Even watching SSG, for instance, even though they are legend, you could tell that there are times where they fucked up the spawns because they are not used to it. So, like for instance, the guy top A will go turbine to watch attic because you have a better angle to watch like deeper attic. But what happened is that basically they are spawning elevator behind the A guy because as soon as you go turbine, you're not blocking top A anymore.
Right.
So it's something very precise that you have to do. And I'm yet to see it from the top NA team so far.
I like that. Thank you for letting that out. I mean, a lot of people are gonna probably look at that and be like, "Man, that's great." Luckily, we don't have 1,000 viewers or something. and good luck trying to even get the setup going. Like you said, it's a real specific setup.
Yeah, it's very specific, and you have to understand the timing. And obviously, since we worked on it, we also know how to break it in a way. Because obviously, no setup is unbreakable. It's harder to break another setup, but it's not game over. I mean, like there's always something you can do. I'm not gonna tell people how to break it because that would be, that would not be funny.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, there are ways to break it. So even if people want to try it and happen to successfully do it, I'm still not gonna cry about it. So I'm good.
100%. So getting into the nicks and crannies is something that we like to do in the Clutch Academy in general to kind of teach people how to play, and we play 8s and stuff like that. So we have full comms. People typically tell each other, "Let's do a setup here and there." I'm guessing a little bit of people will probably try it out in some of the 8s that we have. So that would be cool to see. I'll let you know if anybody gets it down. Let's just go into the favorite U.S. player to watch. So I did have that question, like who is the one person, if you had anybody, not including Legend, I guess you could consider him EU.
Yeah, I was gonna be it doesn't count, I guess.
You can't count him technically. Is there any specific pro player that you were just like, this guy is somebody I like to watch because of this reason? Like some people like Royal 2, he likes staying in one spot and just shooting. Some people like Lucy because he flies, all that good stuff. Is there anybody specific that you have?
I have 2 players in mind. I like to watch Rossi as well. Okay. So it's not the most popular pick, but for us, like on H5, he used to be the best player as well for a while. I think he was the MVP on H5. And in this game, I think I really like what he does sometimes because he's kind of unpredictable because he tries like the most ballsy play at times. He's gonna reach all things and go for snipes that you wouldn't expect from anyone else pretty much at times. I just really like his confidence and the way he moves around the map. It's always funny to watch him play. There's also Dead Zone. I think Dead Zone is very impressive as well. Like online is such a different beast compared to what people see online and stuff. Online is actually insane. And what I like about him is that he doesn't give any fucks. Like he's pushing situation you're thinking, yeah, that's a suicide mission. He's gonna die for sure, doing no damage. But he ends up like clutching things that you wouldn't expect from anyone else. You know,
Right.
like I've seen him push like driveway 1v3 on street and not on streets on 4 or Plaza, but it's Solitude on Infinitia. And he's doing crazy things, you know, he doesn't give fucks, and he's just creating openings on the map like no one else. And I think he's a very interesting player to watch because of it. He has such a different approach, and he's a very good team player as well. So, yeah, there's two POV I really like to watch. I'm not really putting a lot of stocks into players that slays a lot because I don't think it's really interesting.
Right.
Considering the way I want to approach the game, since I don't really play power weapons myself, I'd rather see how people do without power weapons and stuff. You know, I'd rather see like what I can do in terms of objective, opening the map for my teammates and stuff.
Got it. Okay, so with that in mind, the U.S. players that you like to look at Frosty and Dead Zone for their own reasons, would you ever, and you don't have to say that you're gonna move here and the team's gonna be here, but would you ever think about moving to the U.S.?
I think I would. The biggest challenge would actually be to leave my family and stuff because I'm quite a family guy. So being across the world, far from them and stuff would be very difficult.
Fair enough.
But outside of it, like everything is better when it comes to playing Halo, you know, for good reasons. Like you can get games, you can practice against the best of the best every day. You know, you don't have to go through jet lags. Like everything is much better. So yeah, I would definitely take the chance if I could.
Do you think Legend has changed as a player since he's moved to the U.S.? Like, have you seen any change in him, or is he the same player and they're working around him? You see what I'm saying?
No, I think there are definitely changes. I think ever since he went to the US, he became even better, and I think that as well, I've seen a difference. He was like a very good objective player for a while. He still is with SSG, but I can tell that at some point they wanted him to be more of a slayer. Because I saw the way he played his life got better and better as the time passed. I could see it in the statistic, but also in his way of playing his life. And I can tell he worked a lot on like his staying alive ability. And I think he's probably like one of the hardest killers in the game by far at the moment, on top of like his objective efficiency and stuff. So I think he's way better than what he used to be back then.
Leaving home's a big deal, but like getting to the highest level, sometimes it's worth it, right? If it's worth the gamble, I know you're a gambling man, as you said. He'll go to Vegas to Sica. He'll go all in on red. You know, you've already had third place, so why not first place if you come to the U.S. with all the practice that you would get that you would otherwise never have gotten?
Yeah.
Do you have any messages to the EU fans, the community in general over there in France? Since you're in France, is there anything you want to tell them? You could say it in French too if you want, or you could just say it in English. Up to you.
I'm gonna say it in English. Just the community and the fans. I don't have much to say except thank you for the support, and that's obviously I know Quadrant is not here anymore. I know a lot of people are fans of Quadrant, but I hope that nonetheless they're gonna be here to support the teams in Europe next year because they're gonna be a next chapter, and we are still motivated to do great things. So don't let us down, and we won't let you down.
Anything like to get off your chest or discuss in regards to the interview or anything else that you haven't talked about before then?
If ever someone from HCS or like Tashi sees this interview somehow, I want him to do Las Vegas LAN.
You really want the Las Vegas LAN? You really want?
I really want it. Let me bet my life saving on it.
He's like that. That just might make me some money, right? Okay, cool. Yep. And then finally, any shout outs to anybody? Do you want to thank any teammates, coaches, friends who have been with you this whole time, ever since the beginning, family? Is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Obviously, shout outs to all the teammates I've ever had in Halo because they're all part of the journey. Shout out to my coach as well and friend Kronos. We're actually going in Japan with Kronos and Legend in 5 days for 3 weeks. So nice. It's going to be an hell of an experience.
Wow, okay.
So shout out to them, shout out to my friends in France, the French community and stuff. I love them all. And I say that every interview, but I really do.
Bourguignon, something like that.
Bourguignon.
Oh, Bourguignon. Okay, we'll try. I'll learn French next time if we have an interview.